Okay, so gonna do things a little differently, but I like this idea that I've had recently. So I did a reading randomly, without a question, out of nowhere. I was just meditating with my cat on the balcony, and came out and do this reading, and it was really intensely personal, even down to how my progressive chart is going, my entire journey with the tarot, everything I've been talking about since I started making videos. And I discovered something really unique about the reading while recording. And just for reference, that reading, currently, my current big spiritual reading is the Queen of Discs in the present, the Prince of Discs, the Queen of Discs in the past, the Prince of Discs in the present. I made that mistake the first time too. The Chariot in the future, inverted Strength on the bottom of the deck. And underneath Strength, I saw the Fool giggling. And I was like, oh, that's happened to me before. That's why I refer to it that way. I sort of built that relationship with this card here. And then during the reading, I didn't realize this before, because I did the reading not recording. I picked up the Fool, and Temperance was beneath it. I had been talking, the video was about the power of a mystery, and this here is the greatest mystery in the tarot. So, very powerful reading, to say the least. And I didn't ask a question, I just was drawn to it. So I think I'm going to stick with that reading as the background of my spiritual practice for right now. With that being said, I also, last Sunday, chose a couple runes of the Elder Futhark. You may recognize them if you're familiar with some of this stuff. The ones I had last week were the runes for gift and harvest. At the beginning, I thought that was about me receiving some sort of gift or harvest. I have not realized that. That's about me gifting a sort of spiritual harvest back in the form of these videos. And so, for instance, I don't even know the names of these runes yet. But I'm sure by next Sunday, I will have more knowledge about them. And they will have guided me along this path. But today, I do have the Rider-Waite. So my plan is to just do I just shuffled these cards like right before I started the video. My plan is to do essentially a reflection reading of this overall reading. And I'm almost certainly going to do another reflection upon this reading, because these cards are just sort of the spiritual backdrop, and these will be the flavor. Now, that's probably how I'll proceed going forward. But yeah, I haven't actually cut the deck yet, so let me actually get a little aquaphor before I cut this deck. Okay. Let's do it. I know nothing. Thank you, Spirit. All right, so for today, card for the past will be the Sun inverted. Okay, I already know exactly what the fuck this means. Maybe I should not curse as much, but now I'm going to. Holy shit. I know exactly what it means. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to let the cards play out first, though. Then for the present, the inverted Page of Swords. And for the future, the inverted King of Swords. Okay. And and on the bottom of the deck is the Five of Swords face up. So I have way less experience with the court cards. I mean, with like the minor arcana. I for some reason in the beginning of my spiritual practice did readings only with the major arcana, so I could really get to know them. I'm still in a process of learning. But this is interesting. I have a book here my dad gave me, which I use frequently, specifically for the Rider-Waite. So I'm actually probably going to use this to help me a little bit for the interpretations for these cards whenever I get to them. However, initially, right off the bat, what I see from the Sun being inverted as context for the Queen of Discs in my past. I think this is reminding me of this lesson that I learned early in the week or early last week, maybe about like Monday or Tuesday, where I was like, oh, I need to pour into myself in the same way that I was pouring into others, and that but in order to do that, I need to understand what parts of me need nourishment. And I have likened my pursuit of a partner to I have like literally talked about this with partners and friends about how essentially I am the moon. I have the like over there, the moon on the wall. I am the moon searching for my sun so that we can create a world together. That idea, that symbolism has guided me towards finding the right woman. And I would follow this imagery. And the end of my recent relationships taught me that I have to be my own sun. That the balance between the energies of the moon and the sun needs to happen within me first in order for me to be able to create a world. And then that world is what I would invite someone into eventually. And I guess this kind of speaks to the way that we create meaning, right? Like, by visualizing things this way, even that is a freedom for me, because I spent a lot of time denying that there was any sort of spiritual anything going on in the world. I would say I was sort of a part of the new atheism movement of the mid 2000s. Definitely got swept up in it. But also here, with the sun being inverted, I see that the spiritual fire, the core of love within me, it was always there, right? It was always mine. I just didn't know it. I was looking for its reflection. I saw its reflection in others and assumed that that was the source. With the Page of Swords here in the present inverted, actually, I'm gonna use the book now, actually, because I really don't know. I almost, this is how I learn, I guess. Page of Swords, as with all pages, is a messenger. He is bringing you... Oh, I should probably say this is written by Nikki J. I'm quoting from them. Thank you, Nikki J. He's bringing you news that will be truth, whether you want to hear it or not. He's a messenger. The youthful energy of this page brings a sense of honesty that is refreshing, even if it is challenging. And he is ready for action and wants to convey his knowledge and wisdom with you. This page brings intellect and logic, but doesn't always consider your feelings. You may not receive the news you were expecting, as it could be blocked in some way. This news isn't necessarily bad, but with the Page of Swords it can go either way. But be aware of what you are saying at this time. Don't pretend to know all the answers. Oh my god. Others may find your words harsh at that time, and they could potentially come back to bite you. Yeah. That's interesting. Because I think that's a part of that's like a lesson in my approach. Right. Okay. So, like, let me go back. Actually, this is interesting. The Queen of Discs, because I'm remembering now what the Queen of Discs was about. Actually, the Queen of Discs represented the fact that, despite the fact that I lived in a spiritually bankrupt world because I put myself there, I was still doing the work. It was still an essential part of the process. Right? The sun, it was always within me. You know, like, just because it's dark on the earth doesn't mean the sun won't rise. And in fact, every day that dawns begins with the death of the old world. You know, the sun rising is the one thing you can count on. Tomorrow will be sun. And here with the Page of Swords on top of the Prince of Discs, I see. This is almost like a warning for my practice. You know, because I do think that me making these videos every day, and a part of why I didn't make one yesterday is because it's really important for me to remain authentic. You know, and like, I do have a big ego. I've worked a lot not to let my ego, you know, let it bite me in the ass, essentially. Because no matter, you know, how much good I do and how much love and warmth I spread, there is a part of me, genuinely, that feels like the earth should tremble at my every step. And I know that sounds silly, but there's this deep, fiery ambition within me. And this connection with nature. You know, and a part of me feels like it's only a matter of time before someone sees. And that's the thing, is like, I already live in so much abundance. I already have so much wealth in the form of friends who care about me and loved ones who want to see me succeed. And I have food in my belly and I smell nice, you know, like I have so much to be grateful for. So yeah, it's really important for me to remain authentic in this. Because I could be making videos every day, sound like a douchebag, because I'm acting like I know your answers. Right? That's why I'm not doing readings for other people. I'm doing readings for myself. And I'm being vulnerable. And because I think that's how I can heal other people. Oh my, and this reminds me of something I wrote down. You know, I've been getting a lot of really loving messages from people over the past couple days. And it's kind of just put into perspective the good that I've already done in the world, I guess. And that's not to say that I'm somebody amazing, but even if you just make one person have an effect on one person, you know, like, no, it's like, I said this earlier to somebody, is that true power is the ability to whisper a loving dream into the ear of someone in the process of becoming. Because that dream ripples out through the world. And it's harder than you think, because a lot of times people don't want to hear what you have to say. You could be saying exactly the fucking right thing to somebody and they cannot hear you. Even if they were to listen, they can even know that if they were to listen to you that it would change everything. And they can't internalize it. They can't close the fucking, circuit in their head. But sometimes that shit works. Right? So it's like this is something I wrote down earlier today. Oh no. The there is a difference, right? Okay, so for instance, when I see somebody queer walking down the street, living their best life, proud, that is inspiring to me because I struggle to be seen, right? Or vice versa, no matter who you are, right? Like you see somebody who inspires you. When we see somebody being free, it frees us. And that's for everybody. That's for literally everyone. That's something we all struggle with. And right, so if I can live freely and then show people that it's okay to do that, that's beautiful too. Right? That's beautiful. And I have observed that sometimes when I'm talking to somebody, I say exactly what they need to hear when they need to hear it. And that's not me saying it. That's like what they need to hear coming through me from somewhere else. From wisdom I don't even have and internalize. It's like I just become a conduit for what people need to hear. That is weird. It's weird. It's a thing that I now at 28 have seen happen to multiple people in my life, and I do not understand it. And nobody else does. I mean, they do. Like we have spiritual words for what is happening there, but we don't really know. And all that really matters, right, is the effect. Because true power is being able to whisper a dream into someone who is in the process of becoming, that changes them. I've had people do that to me. Of course, or else I wouldn't be here doing this right now. So yeah, I guess, the Page of Swords is a warning. Like, hey, I know, you know nothing, bitch. That's why I say, before I cut the deck, I say I know nothing. Because I don't. Okay? It's my spirit that knows. That's why I thank my spirit right after that. And on to the King of Swords. So the King of Swords with the Chariot. The King of Swords is very self-assured. He is highly intelligent, logical, and a true leader. This is the king you would follow into battle. He doesn't have the time for idle chit-chat, and so when he does speak, it is articulate and to the point. He has high standards and will use his logical objectivity to make fair judgments. This king does not show his emotions. He is far too analytical for that, but he can appear inflexible as he always follows the rules. The King of Swords reverse can be terrifying. If it is you, consider if you are blocking out your feelings so much that you are being too assertive. The energy of this king reverse is manipulative, cruel, and intimidating. He wants to dominate and doesn't stop to consider anyone's feelings. Yeah, this is interesting because, to be honest, I felt a little dip in my energy yesterday. And I'm kind of trying to identify what it was. And I'll say this, I was really struggling to even understand the placement of the Chariot here in the future with the initial reading, mostly because the Chariot is a very complicated card. I pretty much chalked it up to the Chariot falling out of the deck the first time I ever handled a tarot deck, and that it must have been representative of a sort of, the loop never really closing and things never really ending. But here with the King of Swords, I see that, my intuition tells me that that's going to be and perhaps those are the conflicts. That is what the fuel is going to be. It's like what I was talking about earlier about how this being this part of me that feels like the earth should shudder at my every step. And that's so interesting because in my mind, I think what that energy is like the masculine energy within me being a little bit out of control. And then sometimes I can get a little histrionic, and that's like the feminine energy being out of control. Sometimes it just feels like my fucking, like the energies within me are so intense that it's just a constant battle for them to be in balance. And I'm never actually in balance, It's just this teeter-totter. But perhaps that's what the Five of Swords is saying. That the energies within me are roiling because of what I'm capable of doing with them. And it's crazy. Like, I've been thinking a lot about this today. And I'm almost kind of hesitant to talk about it because I was emotional earlier about it, but that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point of the Strength Inverted. Holy shit. Okay, listen to what this book says about the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords, and I'll show the card. It's upright. The Five of Swords shows two figures walking away in defeat while one is at the front claiming victory. This dual energy is prevalent insofar as which one are you? Do you win at all costs, even if it is to the detriment of others? This can be a destructive energy, with people exacting revenge and making pointless power plays, and equally show that you have conquered your fears and won against the odds. Be warned, and this is the upright interpretation, be warned that in a relationship this shows that there is a big ego at play, and compromise is not in their vocabulary. In working relationships, there may be someone who is working against you, causing unnecessary friction and tension. Be aware of how hollow victories at this time, and be honest with yourself about your own actions. The truth will set you free and help you grow. Damn. So within the context of this, being a reading about me, myself, and my spiritual journey, it's so strange how I can sit here and talk about this reading, and almost every time the bottom of the deck happens to be what I was talking about. And then I look, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And then I'm always surprised. And I sort of see this as right now, the biggest avenue for the old me to sort of scratch at the edges of new me is through the hollow victories that I give myself. Like I'm entering an entirely new world on this spiritual journey. Because in a way, it's transgressive to say that everything is fuel for the fire, including all the parts of myself that I technically should be ashamed of. Like my ego, like my massive ego. But that too can be transmuted, you know? Because then the massive ego becomes compassion. Because I know that I'm just like it's like a constant reminder. I have to constantly remind myself that I'm like everybody else. Despite the fact that people like to tell me sometimes that I'm not. And like sometimes I like to tell myself that I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like, and this is what I was kind of hesitant to talk about. Because I don't want to seem like I want or need sympathy for what I'm about to talk about. Because at the end of the day, everything is fuel for the fire now. But I wrote down earlier, it was always easier to be what everyone saw in me. Meaning this, you know, being John, essentially. You know, for those of you, I mean, my first name is John. My middle name is Renee. So, I mean, you know, it was kind of a rap from the beginning. I was not that I don't love my name, but because John is my granddad's name and I love my name, but it's not my name. I cannot remember how many times I've betrayed myself because it was easier to masquerade as a cis white man. And I'm never going to do that again. I can't. And I've said that before too. I said never again. And I did. But this time it feels different because now every day I wake up and I make sure that I feel like me. Because what's most essentially me is love and warmth and kindness and somehow being able to say what people need right when they need it because I happen to be good at words. And I want to be able to offer that to other people. I want to be able to offer that to everybody, you know? Like, my greatest dream as a kid was to be able to heal the whole world. And I've kind of been trying to reconnect to that because I didn't really understand that as my dream until I started this journey. Like in the past week, I think I've really come to terms with that. I remember feeling like, even at a young age, like, wow, people really love being around me. You know? People, my family members beg to see me. And of course everybody does that, right? Or something, I mean, not everybody. I shouldn't say that. But, you know, maybe that's what I want to try and build. That's why I want to just be honest and authentic. It's just like, maybe it'll heal somebody. And then it's worth it. Talk to you later.